The Liquor Lab podcast is a Liquor Lab production. Welcome to episode 11 of the Liquor Lab podcast. Today we're going to discuss unconventional ways to search for companies and jobs. I have a lot of experience doing it. It's actually landed me a full-time gig by taking this unconventional route. First and foremost, I'd like to talk about the format of the podcast. I've noticed that episodes have a lot more time to marinate with users, meaning people get to them and they're not bombarded by episodes. I'm not getting 100,000 listens a week or a day that every week content comes out and everyone has listened to the prior episode. So for example, the latest episode with James LaCourt from Leilu, I have seen an uptick in listens that I waited now 2 weeks to drop the next piece of content on all streaming platforms. And again, we're on all streaming platforms. So yes, every 2 weeks, one is going to be short form like we're doing now, and the other is going to be the one-on-one format. Like my last interview, the one with Jason Licker, more of that is coming. I'm lining up a ton of interviews because I feel they're really successful and they're really insightful. I've gotten great feedback. Again, love it, hate it. As long as you listen, subscribe on YouTube. YouTube has been great also. We're getting tons of views on YouTube for the latest podcast. It was the first interview I did full video. So that's just a little breaking news from the Liquor Lab podcast. This week, as I said, we're going to get into unconventional ways to search for companies and jobs. With these short form podcasts, I want to give the listener or the watcher, I want to give them something to take action on. In the first few episodes of the podcast, I've always been just basically preaching and not providing a strategy or a way to execute what I'm saying. So I'm going to get right into it. Unconventional ways to search for companies and jobs. There are two things I want to touch on. Actually, three things. One is just overall fear of missing out. When the general public hears about something, and this is going to tie in, when the general public hears about something, when you hear about Bitcoin, when you hear about how AMC Theaters, the stock went up, 35% in a day, there were people who were watching Bitcoin months, years ago. There were people who were watching AMC stock when it went down to $1.96, or a few months ago when it went down to $2.16 and shot up to $5, $7, and then came back down. People who watch the market, who watch the developments, who watch what's happening in that industry. Are they getting funding? Are they not getting funding? What is happening with the vaccine? Are people going to go back to theaters? Are theaters open? People who are watching all that, those are the people who have made millions of dollars by the time you hear about AMC. By the time you hear about Bitcoin. Bitcoin in March, I believe, was as low as like $5,000. And now it's at $32,000. It was at $40,000. By the time you hear about it, it's over. It's over. So there needs to be a proactive, as a job seeker. So as an amateur investor, you need to start seeing companies you like, companies you're interested in, and get to know what's happening with them. When are they filing their SEC reports to the Exchange Commission? What is going on? Are they getting funding? Are they in debt? Do they need money to survive? And once you track like that, you will be the person who makes the money before that news breaks on Bloomberg. I'll never forget, I was watching Uber. It was one of the stocks I watched because I prefer Uber over Lyft. Lately, it's Lyft over Uber because Uber is charging a lot. And I noticed Uber was through the roof. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on with Uber? Then I noticed Grubhub. So this was the first, before it even hit the wire, before the news people were even picking up on it, I saw the fluctuation in the stock. I tried to find what was going on by checking Twitter, the ticker. I checked and I found that they were in talks with Grubhub. So both equities were firing. This is before it hit the wire. There were no rumors of that prior, but I saw the takeoff before it broke. And once it broke, if you try to get in and you have that fear of missing out and you try to get in, you might get in, you might get it if you're quick enough, but sometimes it's over and you're at a loss and you're trying to get that 30% gain when the stock's already up 30%. You don't want to do it. You want, when the stock is up 5 and skyrocketing, you want to get in there. Or you were in it a few weeks ago because you knew these delivery companies in Uber Eats, they need to scale. So they're going to scale with DoorDash or Grubhub. So you see where the business needs to go. Lyft, for instance. Lyft is definitely going to acquire one of these delivery companies. I believe they were talking to one of them already, but back in the summer, I thought this. Yeah, so let's move right into why am I talking about that? Because the unconventional way to look for a job, first and foremost, Crunchbase. Crunchbase is where you'll see these companies and find out these companies based on who acquired them, who funded them, what investors they have. So, for example, if you're looking at for a startup company that specializes in e-commerce or specializes in logistics, specializes in different unorthodox or breaking the typical mold or standard mold or legacy mold for investing properties or real estate, you'll find them on Crunchbase. They have a list of companies. So you could go through, you could check out their website, you could check out how many investors they've had, how many rounds of funding. Again, acquisitions, go to their job pages. Go and see what they're hiring for. Is it just technology? I've been to companies that I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm looking for. And it turns out that they're not hiring any marketers. They're only hiring people for technology. Go to Crunchbase, check investments, check investment rounds, funding, how much money these people have. They need money to pay you. Check their job listings. For example, I did this and I found a great company. I won't mention it yet. And they didn't even have job listings. They just had email your resume to this email address. And I came up with some eye-catchy letter like, hey, I'm the guy for you, attached a portfolio I had made. And sure enough, I got a call back, and within 15 or 20 days, I had a job. I had a job offer. So it's just about getting yourself and taking that risk and leap, and not just saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to LinkedIn today," or "I'm going to go to any other job platform. I'm going to go to the career site of Citibank, of JP Morgan." That has its limitations because you're dealing with resume bots, as we've spoken about before. So, Crunchbase, great start. The next thing I want to talk about that I've used personally is IPOs. There's an IPO site called IPO Scoop. If you go to if you go to IPOscoop.com, you will see all the companies that have filed to go public, have filed for their IPOs. Who's funding them? How much of themselves are they putting up in their initial public offering? So you find these companies, research these companies. What do they do? And this is something that you could not only find a job at a great company that's just going public, which is pretty fucking awesome. You could also, as an investor, say, hey, this company is something I want to watch the IPO when it goes out into the public for purchase, because the IPO launches, all the people who they have an insider, it's not insider trading, of course not, but there's some pre-sale that people get into and then it's put out to the public. So if my IPO is tomorrow, the public gets to buy the IPO probably around noon, depending if everyone gets their shot. I mean, a great example of this is the company Shift4 Payments. I watched this company the day it went public on Dimitri Marissas's kitchen table. I bought the company I bought it at $36 and I sold it for $52. It's now up to $70. This was a payment processor. if you could have easily went to Shift4 Payments. So I looked at jobs for these companies. So it's so simple that it's right in front of you. You just have to know where to look. If you see a company that catches your eye, you just can't let, in today's day and age especially, you just can't let the news come to you. If you want to set yourself above and aside from everyone else in the market, you need to differentiate yourself. So you need to stop letting the news come to you. We all do it. I mean, you sit there and people report it. That's why you hear about these things after the fact. But if you get out there and start Googling and start using Google startup companies, e-commerce startup companies, just different types of companies, you'll land on these repositories of Crunchbase. Everything you need is there. IPOscoop.com. There's Twitter handles that just post about or tweet about IPOs when it's releasing. Airbnb just launched an IPO. But that's more of a mainstream brand. But knowing these companies, knowing what's coming, you could go to these companies before they're mainstream and look at their jobs. Look at their job descriptions. What are these startup companies looking for? There's so many avenues to explore once you get to IPOscoop.com. There's so many avenues to explore once you get to Crunchbase. I'm telling you, it worked for me. I told my cousin, Jason, I was like, hey, I just sent out a bunch of things on Crunchbase. He's like, what? Where did you go? And sure enough, it worked out. So there are unconventional ways to search for companies and jobs. You have to be proactive. You have to set yourself aside from the apply on LinkedIn or applying the corporate site of these big brands, which, hey, if you have the right CV, the right profile, it will work for you. But if you're looking for that opportunity where you could get into the ground floor, and right now, IPOs are pretty popular, and companies that are getting funding are on that IPO route to acquisition, or they're on the route to going public. So all you need to do is be creative. If there's one thing that I'm trying to communicate here is be creative with your job search. Find out what you want to do, but then go find those companies. Go find those early first movers in a space that you love. You could just go to Crunchbase, and I'll have all the links to Crunchbase and IPO Scoop and other and these other information sites will be in the show notes. So if you go to the show notes in YouTube, if you go to the show notes for the podcast, it'll all be there. All the links are there. So check them out. See what you could do. It's up to you. I could show you the way. You have to now execute and leverage it, but it's right there. So to recap, when you're looking for that next move, that next career, not just a job, a career, you need to find out what's going on with the finances of these companies. What's happening in the airline industry? What's happening in e-commerce? What's happening in the movie theater business? Is the vaccine impacting? Is Johnson & Johnson's vaccine going to impact it? When is that coming out? When is the approval? Just knowing what's happening in the finance and what news is coming, that you see it before it's mainstream. It just takes effort and hard work, really hard work that I've talked about on previous podcasts, that this is the type of hard work that will differentiate you. It all ties in to everything I'm saying. Work hard, work smart, work efficiently, find the answers. They're out there. Make your own path. Crunchbase, huge tool. Go there, find companies, find funding rounds, find acquisitions, who was just acquired, who's, like I said, funding round, who's being funded, by who's the investor. You want to work at an investment capital, one of these investment capital firms or that back these companies, find out who's funding who. Go there, apply to jobs, see what their descriptions are. Maybe you need to revise your resume. You found a great job. You found a different way to say something. It's all there. So in conclusion, again, this is one of these short form podcasts. Just really quick tips, as Rick Mulready would say, quick tip podcast. So a liquor quick tip, a liquor quick podcast. Again, subscribe on YouTube. All the links are in the show notes. All the tools are out there for you. It worked for me. It was something that I just decided on New Year's Eve. I wrote those emails. I'm like, let me go. I haven't been to Crunchbase in a long time. Check it out. LiquorLab.com, Liquor Lab Podcast. You're listening right now. Thank you. Every 2 weeks, could be more, depends on what's going on. The one-on-ones are something that's going to be regular now. And these quick tips, a liquor quick tip. LiquorLab.com, shop.liquorlab.com. The t-shirts are in. The branded t-shirts are in. If you're in Huntington, Laylu, go there. Ask for James. Tell him the Liquor Lab sent you. He will be more than happy to share a cocktail with you. LiquorLab.com. Everything is there. Shop.liquorlab. Entrepreneurs, let's hear from you. Email, Instagram. If you get a Liquor Lab shirt, share it. If you're listening to the podcast, share it. We need help. Subscribe, really important. Rate us, download, catch up. LiquorLab.com. Thank you for listening. Episode 11, Unconventional Ways to Search for Companies and Jobs. This is the part of the Liquor Lab podcast where I need your help. Subscribe, rate, and share. Subscribe, rate, and share. Subscribe, rate, and share. Every podcaster says it. We need it, though, especially the Liquor Lab podcast. Subscribe, rate, and share. If you're listening, post it in an Instagram story. Post it in a Facebook story. Take a screen capture of the episode you're listening to. Post it in your feeds. Share it on Twitter, stories, Facebook, WhatsApp. Share it. Subscribe, rate, and share to the Liquor Lab podcast. Thank you for all your support. Everyone who has subscribed, rated, and share, keep it going. Subscribe, rate, and share. YouTube, subscribe to the Liquor Lab YouTube channel. On YouTube, search Liquor Lab, click subscribe. You'll get all access to clips, podcasts, all of our content. Again, YouTube, Liquor Lab, or go to liquorlab.com and click the YouTube icon. Instagram, follow the Liquor Lab on Instagram. Search Liquor Lab or go to liquorlab.com and click on the Instagram icon on the homepage. Follow us, like our content, mention friends in our post, share our posts, share our stories. Liquor Lab on Instagram. Again, search Liquor Lab or go to liquorlab.com and click on the Instagram icon. Now open for business, the Liquor Lab merch store. Visit shop.liquorlab.com. Go to the homepage, liquorlab.com. The link is there. Direct to the store. You'll see the Liquor Lab logo t-shirt, 100% organic. You'll see the Liquor Lab logo hoodie, 85% organic. And just added Liquor Lab Instagram privacy settings tee. Very excited about these products. Visit liquorlab.com, shop.liquorlab.com, or even tap view shop in the Liquor Lab Instagram profile at Liquor Lab. Very excited about these products. Shop.liquorlab.com and support the Liquor Lab.